Hello everyone in YouTube land. It's time for another installment of Don't Read the Comments. Welcome to my channel. My name is Scarlett and I'm an atheist and skeptic, and I do read the comments. I have quite the doozy for you today, but before we get started, here are a couple of kitty pics to thank everyone who has liked, subscribed, commented, and done all the YouTube stuff. Thank you for all of that. It is much appreciated. The first one is Susie Q, and the second is Gina, who continues to do well. Now, when I started this channel, I did have a bit of worry about getting some negative feedback, but once Christians started showing up, I really didn't have more than a reaction of curiosity. Maybe it was the time I spent about 15 years ago in an atheist forum over on about.com. It's something else now, and I don't know if it has a forum at all. But anyway, it was very active at the time and a great place to dialogue with other atheists from all over the US and Canada, and the UK and Australia too. And I think there were some people from France and Germany. Christians used to pop in too. We had names for them. There were seagulls. They would start a thread and leave only one message like, "You're all going to hell," or "I'll be praying for you." Then there were the wall of texts. Today's comments fall into this category. A subset of those some Christians left were the old copy pasta, usually some glurge about a miracle. And then there were the wall of text that we called TLDRs. TLDR, too long, didn't read. That's today's. A veritable gish gallop of wall textery left on my YouTube video, Why I Pick on Christianity. I'm pretty happy with the view count on that. So S.K. Wills left 4 comments. 4 on Christmas Eve. He left the first, and I responded with a comment that I thought he sounded angry, that I wouldn't address everything like this in a comment section because, oof. But then I would make a video. I stated that I don't hate Christianity, and I wished him a Merry Christmas. While I was replying, he left a second comment. Then he responded to my first response with another wall of text. I left a response to his second comment, and he left his fourth comment, a response to my response. Hey, SK, did you come back to ask for rent in that space I'm occupying in your head? And by the way, pro tip, if you want an answer from a YouTuber, isolate 1 or 2 points. Don't do a mind dump in a comment section like you're arguing with your partner. This is free advice I'm giving you. You're welcome. I also advise that you try to imagine that the person you are interacting with is sincere in their beliefs and that they do know what they believe, especially if they're a nobody with a tiny channel on the old YouTubes like myself. We won't read all of SK's comments because, Lord, we do not have time for everything. There was a website I liked a long time ago called Sadly No that did this thing they called a shorter. They would link to an editorial that they had distilled down to 1 line. So we're going to do that in part. Shorter SK. Oh, and there's a lot of random capitalization and misspelling in the comments. I won't address any of those. SK says that he is dyslexic, and he gets pre-offended that I will point and laugh at these. If it is true that SK is dyslexic, and who knows, it is the internet, you can tell me anything, but we're going to go with that. You're dyslexic. I'm not going to make fun, so let's just overlook that aspect of the messages and focus on the messages. All right, so SK starts out by saying, I repeated the dogma of atheism, even though he knows atheism isn't a religion, for several lines. And then paragraph 3, I, Scarlett, hate Christianity for irrational reasons. Go on. So apparently the fact that I used to be a Christian and I read the Bible and I did my own research, TM, is all silly and nonsense because I am just copying other atheists. I repeat the terminology, etc. Apparently quoting the Bible is also not a good idea. Anyway, SK has heard it all. The fact that I talk about deconversion? Also silly. It's a made-up nonsense word, and everything is just conversion. I hate to break it to you, SK, but all languages are made up. Humans have been making up words since humans discovered words and our language. So there's that. But the word deconversion actually appears in the APA Dictionary of Psychology, so someone recognizes it. You don't like it, don't use it. I hate the term best practices, as if the people using it have evidence for what they want to do instead of other businesses have started doing this thing. Anyway, nobody cares what I think about that terminology. They keep using it. So, going on. Apparently, I'm just copying other atheists and I have no real belief. And anyway, everybody's just addressing straw men. And by the way, SK knows it all, has heard it all. So among the people SK mentions, I have only ever really paid attention to the Atheist Experience, Matt Dillahunty, and Aaron Ra. I never read Harris, Hitchens, or Dawkins. I've only seen snippets of their stuff. It's not like I really read it or anything. I did really like the Atheist Experience, though, and not just Matt Dillahunty. I really liked Tracy Harris and Jen Peoples and Don Baker. Oh, and long ago, Jeff D. and Martin, somebody, I forget his last name. I don't know how they were responding to straw men, though, since the premise of the show was, tell us what you believe and why. Don Baker often had this thing to read at the start of the show, which was interesting and usually his own take on the Bible or a point of doctrine, but the rest of the show, people called in and talked about what they believed. I like Aaron mainly for the science stuff. I really have learned a lot about evolution by watching his videos, and he does some history of Bible stories, which I also find interesting. Anyway, I've listened to other YouTubers too. There's a lot of atheist content out there that I've read or looked at. Anyway, SK continues the dialogue in his head by telling me that I don't lack belief because of no evidence, that I wouldn't have to look for ways to debunk Christianity or use smug insults. Do I use smug insults? Am I smug? Who knows? Also, apparently, I don't know what debunked means. SK goes on to a few arguments that I don't even think I talked about in the video. Then all my sources are atheist orgs. I don't really do my own research, TM, and am influenced by others. It is true for the video on why I target Christians. I used atheist sites, but some of my videos do reference Christian sites, BT dubs, and I do go to the Barna group sometimes. I'm not sure about their research methods because I've heard that they are a little questionable. And I would say that I am influenced by others. I take in information other people put out. I examine their arguments. I don't think it's bad to contemplate other people's knowledge. If I stay in my own head and only accept what I experience, I am limited greatly by that. I'll come back to this at the end. Winding this comment down, and if you've been keeping score at home, this is one comment. SK imagines my response. Yo, SK, we were not having a dialogue. I have no idea what I would have said. I don't know what you believe, and I don't know why you're here except to tell me that I don't know what I believe. I don't think it's hilarious that you think you know my beliefs better. I think it's dumb. Anyway, that is the comment I wrote a response to. And when I hit send, this other comment came in. Here it is. It's true, I did not give up Christianity because of evil right-wing politics. My family was right-wing. I was raised in a sort of small business Republican family. My mother became a full-on conservative, listening to Rush Limbaugh and watching Fox News. Anyway, I stopped believing in Christianity before the current era and was a non-believer for a long time before the current threat of Christian nationalism arose. I was supremely irritated by a lot of the Bush II era Christianity, but I still felt like politics and religion were separate enough. The video this comment was on was not about why I left Christianity, though. It was about why I focus on Christianity, a whole other kettle of Jesus fish. And what I lay out there is true. I do know more about Christianity than other religions. They're the dominant one here, and they're who I hear wanting to curtail rights. They are a threat that I perceive. Anyway, SK accuses me of bullying and telling lies. Who am I bullying? What does SK think bullying is? I don't go to people's comment section and heap insults on them or tell them they're stupid or any other kind of trollish action. It's true, I've commented on a few Christian apologists with big platforms, but I am critiquing their ideas. At the end of the day, that is what interests me, the ideas and the narratives people spin around them. My goal is to unweave those narratives and see what is at the base. I think sometimes people use bullying in an inappropriate way as a synonym for offering criticism. Just criticizing something is not bullying. To bully, first you have to be in a position of power. My channel is tiny and I have almost no power. Second, bullying has to be more than just criticizing from time to time. So SK goes on to respond to my accusation that he is angry. A lot of this is responding to the ongoing dialogue in his head because, again, we are not talking. He thinks I'm imagining him red-faced and screaming with a thick southern accent, KKK and Nazi shit and MAGA. First off, SK, I didn't imagine you at all. But someone who leaves a comment dump like the first one we went through, with all of the accusations you lobbed at me, gives the impression of being angry. I will take this time to say that I am actually from the South, if you consider Kentucky to be the South, which my husband, who is from Alabama, doesn't. He thinks people from Tennessee are already a little suspect and more northern. Point being, I don't know why the southern accent is in here. Like, do you imagine it sounds awful? Most of my family and friends from there have an accent like that. People around here that I are friends with, it's New York, New Jersey. Anyway, ditto on the Nazi shit or the MAGA stuff. Are you a Trump supporter? Are you a Nazi? I have no idea. Christians can be lots of things. A lot of my friends from the South are actually Democrats. Some are religious, some aren't. None of my Southern friends are Nazis or going to Klan rallies. So I don't know what this little thing, this little section is about at all. I didn't imagine any of that. That's in your head. But the point here is SK is saying I'm using a script. All right. In the second section, SK mentions several evils of religion, saying I will make jokes about pedo priests. I'm not sure I made jokes about them. I have pointed out the various Christian churches with their sexual abuse scandals, and not just the Catholic Church, but also the Southern Baptist Convention, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Methodists. There are so many groups that have had sexual abuse scandals. Anyway, it's something that you should deal with, I think. It's something you need to grapple with as Christians. All this winds down for SK to lob the listening with empathy line I had suggested in one of my replies, that instead of dropping a wallow text, he should listen with empathy. But here's the thing. All of the evils he pointed out are true. They do in fact exist, and I think Christians should reckon with them. I would agree that atheists who bring up the damage religion has caused are not listening with empathy, but it is not meant to be that way. Bringing up those evils is to show the hypocrisy of Christians who claim that their religion and their religion alone makes them moral. Listening with empathy would be me listening to SK telling me what he believes and why, and me making an attempt to listen and understand that experience. Both can exist at the same time. But of course, SK didn't tell me his experience. I don't know anything about SK. There is a line in this one about me being ever so loving, and I don't think I ever said that about myself. I am not filled with love. I do think I'm a better person now, but much of that has to do with maturity. But I do not love all people. I have a list. Like Arya Stark in the Game of Thrones. It's a list. I got people on that list. Not a lot of love towards those people. But really, according to SK, I'm manipulative and abusive because I said I thought he was angry. But he's not angry. You're angry. The second response from SK reiterates that I am following a script and tells me that I am using manipulation tactics used by narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. Well, thank you very much. By saying I thought he sounded angry, apparently that was a guilt trip. I am diminishing and dismissing SK's idea if I say there is a Christian persecution complex. I am playing the victim by calling out the fact that there are Christians who want to change our laws to take away the rights of groups of people. How did you determine, SK, that I am manipulating you and not stating my version of reality? If someone seems angry and you say that, are you manipulating them? If you see, for example, a politician or preacher who says atheists shouldn't be in political office, shouldn't be able to vote, are lucky we are allowed to live in this country, and you point that out, that someone is trying to take away the rights that you have, are you playing the victim or are you trying to take action? By the way, I didn't force you to watch my video. I didn't force you to leave several comments. I didn't force you to reply. You wandered in and left this mind dump. What I see happening is you mistook a boundary setting for a manipulation. I told you that you seemed angry, and because of that you had left a big comments dump, a TLDR, that told me that I am wrong about myself and my views in not the nicest of ways, and I told you I wouldn't reply in my comments section. I also suggest you listen with empathy, but that's a suggestion you are free to ignore. And I wished you a happy end of 2022. Passive aggressive? Maybe, but a manipulation? Hardly. To distill down SK's overarching complaint, it is that I am unoriginal and using a script, and maybe that I don't actually believe what I say. Here's what I think is going on. Christians often use a script to proselytize. Ray Comfort is famous for that. Like, have you ever told a lie? Have you ever looked at a woman with lust in your heart? Blah, blah, blah. You can look suggested scripts up. Pick a flavor of Christianity you like. I've seen several on websites. So SK wants to lob this claim back at me. I'm not thinking for myself. I'm just using the atheist script. But am I? I actually think that those of us who are very online, TM, and on the YouTubes have developed a common vocabulary. We've learned to spot fallacies and address arguments. Is that a script? I hardly think so. To me, it's more akin to professional jargon, a shorthand for common tropes and arguments we see. Always the assumption that atheists haven't thought through their beliefs. Always the assumption that we haven't read the Bible. The same tired arguments, the same misunderstanding of science. So we've learned shortcuts to get around some of these, like, dealt with that, seen it, moving on. I will conclude this lengthy comments video by saying I actually do research in my real job. I'm a college professor and I have published research in literature. In addition to reading the books I analyze, I read secondary sources that are on history, philosophy, psychology, theory, and more, and I read what other researchers have said about my primary texts. I don't stay in my own head with what I alone think. My articles reference what others have already done. I present this work at conferences where we have a common jargon to talk about our work, and I exchange ideas. My work is peer-reviewed, and I get comments at publication to improve my ideas and writing. Real research, even of things like literature, which a lot of people consider subjective, real research is not sitting in a chair contemplating my own navel, thinking like, what do I think about this? It takes a lot of work and a lot of considering what has already been done and said, a lot of how do I fit in with what's already out there. I have done something similar with my atheism. I have examined a lot of sources over the years, and not only atheist ones, by the way. One of my favorite religious authors is Elaine Pagels, who writes about the early church. And she also has done some other things, but she's also worked on the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I highly recommend her work if you're interested about that kind of thing. Anyway, as I already said, I was active on the atheist site about.com and its forum, where I interacted with lots of people from lots of different backgrounds with lots of different political beliefs. And I've watched numerous YouTube channels. So it's true, I have been influenced by the ideas of others. I didn't just take on these ideas whole cloth, though. I considered them, and I hopefully have made them my own. Finally, when I started this YouTube channel, it's not that I thought that I have truly original ideas, but I thought I could bring my own personality to these ideas. I am like all the others, and like SK here, screaming into the void in my own little teal deer of a YouTube video, which I hope you liked. That's the YouTube video. That's all I got for you this week. Tell me what jumped out at you about this SK commenter. Was there something that struck you, something interesting? Like, subscribe, comment, do all the YouTube stuff. You're on YouTube. You know what to do. I'll see you in the next one. Have a safe end of the year, everyone, and we'll see you in the new one. Bye for now.